Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Yeah, it's time to hide your DEI. You have to hide it. You have to rename it. You have to call it something else because they're canceling it all over the place.
But even if you call it something else, it's still the same thing. So if it's not working being called DEI, how is changing the name going to make it different? Like, I'm me, but if I change my name to something else, like if I say call me Bob, I'm still me, just with a different name, but it's still the same thing. And if I'm problematic before my name change, still get problematic with the name change, nothing changes. If it's already causing your company to fail before, changing the name isn't going to fix that.
We're gonna talk about this. I can call you Bob now. Problematic Bob.
Yeah, go ahead, call me Bob.
Problematic Bob.
Don't confuse the neighbor because his name's Bob. But anyway.
Well, he's just regular Bob. You're problematic Bob.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to talk about this because this is kind of a follow-up to the videos we've done the last couple of days. We did one yesterday talking about how DEI is basically over, and there are more and more indicators that, like, I mean, we're not talking like companies are phasing it out. No, they're hitting the nuke button on it. Like, they're hitting the, like, yeah, we are done. We are done with DEI. Get rid of it. And then there are people that are panicking, probably because their jobs are on the line, because they're probably diversity officers, and they're like, oh shit, call it something else so my boomer boss doesn't know this is actually DEI, because he's just reading that DEI is out of style now. This reminds me of The Wiz. Not that The Wiz was DEI.
Reminds you of Wiz?
No, The Wiz.
Yeah, I know
where they go to the Emerald
is.
City and
Yes.
they keep changing the colors, and it's like, okay, green's not popular anymore, now it's red.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
That is
like,
what it is.
Like, it went from, you know,
I always stick with Wiz because it's the yellow icon. It looks like Wiz.
it's like piss.
Let's
but
call it, yeah, I'll go with Wiz.
I like The Wiz. You know, it's so weird. But it's
I'm not saying the show. I'm saying the color.
we're gonna make a diverse Wizard of Oz. I'm like, yes, can I introduce you to The Wiz, which was like 40 years ago. But no, it is. It's like it blew in like a freaking hurricane in like 2016, 2017, and then everybody tried it. And it's obviously not working. Everybody's losing shit tons of money, and they're like, "Oh shit, you know, we're done. Mayday, we're out. We're done with DEI." So let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there's a woohoo from Bob, problematic Bob over here.
Woohoo! Woohoo!
Kiki has changed her gender. You need
My
to.
balls just dropped.
Yeah,
Anyway.
they're big too.
So, belonging, inclusion, diversity, equity, and identity. If you switch the equity identity, you get biddy, which, you know.
Biddy. Oh my God. Yeah, but I mean, it's so weird. Everybody's talking about it. Now they're freaking out in academia because they're like,
They've been trying to push this shit for years and now it's blowing up in their faces.
yeah, they're pushing it out of colleges now.
Good.
This is Forbes. Is this the same one? Julie Kratz, who's
At the end, yes, it's the same person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all this has done is cost companies money and honestly make the problem 100 times worse. If you know, where we didn't have so much, people being like against other people based on hiring practices or whatever. We didn't have that before. People just assumed you were qualified for the job. Now you have people who are totally qualified for the job and everybody just assumes they got the job based on gender or race or sexual orientation and not because they should have gotten the job. I think you have created a problem and a system where it is just, made people be more weary of people 100 times worse. Like you're more bigoted, and even if you're not even trying to be, you're not even consciously doing it. It's just created a problem that wasn't there. Like it was. I mean, yes, isms were always there, but not to the level they are now. It's way worse now because you dumbasses made it way, way worse. And I feel bad for people that are supposed to be helped by this because they're actually more harmed.
Yeah, I mean, there probably are people who are getting passed. I mean, even now because of the pivot, they're probably getting passed over because they're like, oh, we'll be accused of hiring DEI employees because of all the backlash or whatever, and which is a damn shame. I mean, that's
So people who are really qualified who should have a job aren't getting the jobs, and it's going to probably less qualified people if they happen to be not white, straight, and male, because they're afraid to hire them because of DEI.
See, this is why we always had equal opportunity employment, right?
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. I always think the right person, the most qualified person for the job should get the job, always. and so what we're seeing now though is that everybody like examining the racial and gender and sexual makeup of a company, and nobody's saying having a diverse workforce is bad. And that's the takeaway from this. It's like a zero-sum game, right? It's like, well, either you've got all straight white men running this company, or you've got a bunch of, brown women and they're just diversity hires. And it's like, well, no, not always. But historically, companies have had diverse workforces and they didn't broadcast it and they weren't getting kickbacks for it. They just did it because the people they hired were the most qualified people for the job.
I mean, examining your own biases is one thing, and that's something people should do anyway. But making it, that it's set up that certain people get promoted based on things that's not qualifications, but race, gender, sexual orientation, et cetera, that's not going to work either. You just you need to make sure you're hiring the right person. And if you're hiring all dudes, maybe you think to yourself, am I hiring all these dudes because I prefer dudes, or am I hiring all these dudes because they're more qualified? And then maybe you look at it and be like, well, I'm doing it because of my own bias. Maybe I shouldn't do that so much. It's not the same thing as I'm required to hire this many of this person, this many of that person, and it's stupid.
But it's so crazy how fast this has changed. Here we have
it didn't lower the bar, it raised it.
Yeah, but what's going on is I think we have a lot of people working in HR. We have a lot of people whose job it has been for the last 5 to 8 years to tell companies how problematic they are. These sweet baby ink types, and they're freaking the fuck out. Why are they freaking out? Because they know that they're done. They know that these companies aren't going to hire them. They're not going to hire these consultants anymore because they're done with DEI. Now they're flat out saying, just call it something else.
Oh, and this is the same person who wrote both articles.
Yeah, this is Julie Kratz, who promotes allyship in the workplace and has 0 comments because nobody gives a shit. So they're talking about just changing the name of it, which
won't fix anything.
It's not gonna, people are going to catch on to it. Like the boomer bosses won't, but what is going to happen? And this is that unfortunate side effect is these companies might become so anti-woke, quote unquote, that they're afraid to hire anybody outside the box because they're just we tried that for 8 years and almost destroyed our business.
Right. So it completely, did the opposite of what people intended it to do. So changing the name isn't going to fix the problem. Like I said, you can name it something else, but it's still the same issue.
We spent how many hundreds of millions of dollars on Dustborn and Concord, and look what happened. We spent how much money on The Acolyte, and look what happened. We let you guys in charge, and look what happens. Now we're not going to hire anybody anymore. And this happened in tech. But what happened in tech was tech got bloated. They hired a lot of the wrong people for jobs that were not necessary. And then they just pivoted. And then they made a big deal about how they're getting rid of DEI. But it's because they hired the wrong fucking people and they made such a big fucking deal out of it.
And then it's like if you have a house and your house has toxic mold in it, and you decide to call it spicy fungi or spicy spores, it still doesn't change the fact that it's toxic mold.
So yeah, they're talking because and I want to talk about this because there a lot of the comments on these videos we've been doing where we've even got the New York Times saying that woke is over. We've got Business Insider saying it's done. We've been talking about the death of DEI, and people are like, don't let your guard down because they're just going to call it something else. And she's flat out telling you, this is Forbes. She's flat out telling you, just call it something else. If DEI is the right acronym for your organization, don't let naysayers force you to pivot.
The thing is, it's not the right acronym for anybody, and it's causing harm the whole way around.
No. If people understand what it means, why it matters, and how the organization is using DEI to create a competitive, sustainable advantage, it's likely a long-term fit. If you're getting resistance where people are not willing to be allies, perhaps pivoting to a word like inclusion or belonging might be a better fit.
Or just go back to hiring people that deserve to be hired, who happen to be diverse, and call it a day.
Look at this. This is some academic, right? This is Latasha Morrison, diversity, equity, and inclusion thought leader. So look, what is going on here is they're all freaking the fuck out because they know that companies aren't going to call them anymore, right? But she's like, hey, for example, instead of using the term white fragility, use racial literacy. They both have similar impacts on people learning more about how to talk about race, but the term racial literacy creates less polarizing responses.
Racial literacy isn't just blaming it all on white people. I would agree with her saying racial literacy is a much better way of saying something than white fragility, because it also puts all the onus of people being racist on white people, which is not true.
So if we had a lot of people working for us and we had a lot of different kinds of people working for us, I think what I would probably do is I would just have, we would have our office chat, and it'd be called How Not to Be an Asshole. Mm-hmm. And that's all it would be. Just like, you know what? There's different kinds of people working here, and don't be an asshole. Don't make shitty remarks to people at work. Don't be an asshole. Don't attack our customers, please.
If you have a problem with that, there's the door.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. Because if you want to see an asshole, I'm a huge asshole, and I'll fire your ass, and you can go find another place to work, right? That's all you got to do. But because they made it, these people depend on DEI. This is literally their personality, their job, their everything, and companies are tossing it overboard. What the hell are they going to do? When your job is to find problems and microaggressions and things to be triggered about and to have seminars in the workplace, and like Coke, right? When they had the white fragility seminars, that's your job, to get paid a ridiculous amount of money to find problems that may or may not actually be there. Just tell people not to be assholes. That's all you got to do. But yeah, they're saying, hey, let's call it something else. And gamers have been talking about this. They said that, yeah, that's what they're going to do. And in fact,
this is going to be the same problem.
It's going to be the same thing. But they're just trying to hide, is what they're trying to do. They're trying to change it because I think they're counting on, again, the boomer bosses that got tricked into hiring these people in the first place. And like, once you let a handful of these activists in, they bring all their friends in and their friends. Next thing you know, there's a lot of mold in your house. And the Old Testament says you got to burn it down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Grumps put this up. And he said he verified it. He said Activision sent this out. They said, team, we have some new news to share. Going forward, we'll be changing the name of our group from DEI to Inclusive Growth.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, to represent the dynamic and strategic work our team is doing to bring inclusion and equity to our people, candidate, game development, creative processes. This change to use Inclusive Growth also better reflects the dynamic and amazing audience that plays our games today and ensures that we are growing in the right ways. No, translation, we don't want to put out a Concord or a Dustborn. And if we call it DEI and people see we got DEI all over it, people know what that means. It's a toxic term right now. And we're just going to change the name of it.
This adjustment does not impact diversity, equity, inclusion. It doesn't impact DEI. We're just renaming it. That work and value remains critical. So we're doing everything the same. We're just calling it something different. And then you're going to expect different results, get the same results, and be like, I don't know what happened. I called it spicy spores, and we still fucked up, and our company is in the gutter. What could possibly have happened? We changed the name. Yeah,
so it's interesting. This is actually a VTuber. I think it's Kershi. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but they said that they have been looking to rebrand it. They had another one, I think it was called Bridge, but it's the same thing. And what they're doing, they're all panicking. These diversity officers are all panicking because they know, hey, if we have no DEI in this company, I don't have a job. So, we'll just change it to something else. So that guy that's going around Starbucks. So Starbucks not going to come to our place and say, what the fuck you doing?
Because suddenly we change the name and then people are going to be too stupid to catch on.
That's exactly what.
We're smarter than they are.
They're scaling it back. Disney was one of the first companies to start tossing people overboard. We saw
Disney always is two-faced. They'll tell you one thing, and then as soon as the push comes to shove, they'll do the complete opposite. They always do this. This is not new.
Yep. But they're talking about John Deere. This one's coming from jdsupra.com. Talking about John Deere, and they're talking about Harley Davidson, and they're like, oh, it's just this is unreal. They said since the Supreme Court's 2023 decision overturning affirmative action in college admissions, organizations are changing how they approach DEI. No, I think since the quarterly earnings or the yearly earnings rolled in, and we took a look at our bottom line, and they're like, oh shit. We are losing so much money because, again, if there was money and wokeness and DEI, they had double, triple, quadruple down on it.
Mm-hmm, but there isn't.
But there isn't. There was free money. They got venture capital and shit, I think, and loans based on that. But that's done. It's over. So, I'm going to tell you, like, things are going to go back to quote unquote normal pretty damn soon. But I do agree that, like, you got to keep an eye on these companies, because there are people at these companies that are going to try to hide. They're going to be like, oh, we're just going to call it something else, but it's still going to be the same damn thing. Mm-hmm. We're going to push for the same damn things. We're just going to call it something else so my boss doesn't catch that that's what we're doing. Are we going to wrap this up? Mm-hmm. All right. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.